What's going on, everybody? This is live stream 46 in the topic of the hour. We just had a prisoner swap, the U.S. and Russia recently. Pretty contentious topic, so we'll kick that around. There's also a lot of stuff going on with Twitter and a lot of things getting revealed after Elon Musk took over the company. So we'll talk about that following the prisoner swap. So going around the horn, introducing our panel tonight. First and foremost, we got Mike with Small Team Supply. That is his YouTube channel. Make sure you guys check him out. But Mike is the CEO of Klein Machining. He's the creator of the AR RPK. Oh, God. I thought you were about to pick up one of your AR RPKs. I was like, you can't do that, dude. Anyways, if you guys haven't seen my video reviews over the AR RPK, be sure to go check those out. And Mike, why don't you tell us what you're holding right there?
So this has been a long time in the making. I mean, I think I've been working on this project since 2019, but with all the stupid COVID stuff and all that stuff, it just was a nightmare to get this done. But it's here. It's freaking here. I started making these prototypes, and I'm like, man, we could just do something better with this, and we got her done. So very exciting, very exciting.
Yeah, if you guys aren't figuring out what the heck that is a carrying handle for his AR RPKs. And I've got a prototype on one of mine, but I just got in the mail today one of those. So I'm going to do a video review on those eventually, and you guys can take an up-close look at that. But, Mike, glad you finally got that taken care of, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but anyways, yeah, Mike, Small Team Supply, be sure to go over to his YouTube channel and check him out. All right, next we got Les with Pegasus Test. That is his YouTube channel, Pegasus Test. He's the company commander of Bravo Company, One Shepherd, over there in West Virginia. He also is a master of logistics, has his own shipping company. He also has his own tactical training company called Polaris Tactics and Simulations Division. Les is a Marine, served in the early 90s. He's a veteran of the Gulf War and always brings an excellent point of view to the live stream. Les, thanks for jumping on tonight.
Glad to be here, Brent.
All right, next we got Bruce. Bruce of Camp Armament, my right-hand man on YouTube. Bruce is an armorer. He's a former aircraft mechanic, and he always brings that excellent civilian perspective to the chat. But be sure to check him out both on Instagram and on YouTube at Bruce at Camp Armament. So, Bruce, thanks for jumping on tonight.
Yeah, as always, thanks for having me, Brent.
All right, and our last panelist tonight, no stranger to this live stream, we got Chad. Chad and I are good buddies. Went back and served together at Bravo Company 1st Battalion, 23rd Marines, hooking and jabbing in Helmand Province, Afghanistan. Chad is also a veteran of 1st LAR. He was in the initial push in 2003, and then went back in 2004 and hooked a jab into Battle of Fallujah. Chad's getting his studying to get his military doctorate's degree in military history, and always brings an excellent perspective to the chat. Chad, thanks for jumping on tonight.
Glad to be here.
All right, guys. So that is our panel tonight. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick it over to Les. So, Les, you got the call, brother.
All right. Well, the big news right now is the trade for a WNBA basketball player for a world-famous nefarious arms trader. A lot of people are not happy about this, and I'm not thrilled either. I'd rather have one of our brother Marines traded to get him back. But the fact is, we're a Western power. When Western powers trade to get people back from the East, it never goes in our favor. We actually did a little better historically than we normally do, because if you look at the Israelis, they usually have to trade about 100 or 150 of those Hamas terrorist fucks to get one of their guys back. So we got off with a 1-to-1 trade, even if it wasn't an equal trade. We really need to find better ways to apply pressure to Mr. Putin. I'm not sure I would have made this trade, but I'm not the president, so it doesn't really matter what I think in that respect.
Yeah, as I see it, you had a jailed humanitarian aid worker who made a buck along the way to feed his family, released for a circus performer.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that our other captives over there in Russia just need to get woke, learn the name of the game, start self-identifying as something that you aren't, start wearing women's clothes and identify as a lesbian, and Joe Biden will get off his butt and get everything going he possibly can to get them out, because I think that's the name of the game here. If you check a certain group of boxes, you're out, and if you don't, you're not.
Yeah, we have a serious problem on one side of the political aisle in this country when it comes to the rule of law. Democrats and the left are under the impression that they are holier than thou and their way is the only way. So when a young member of the WNBA, such as Miss Brittany, who checks all certain boxes, mainly racial boxes and sexual orientation boxes to be exact, when that person violates the drug laws of another country, the American left thinks they should inject themselves so they can virtue signal that they are out for this oppressed minority. Yeah, like anyone in modern America understands what true oppression is. This country is full of spoiled, whiny, soft-ass pansies, and it's getting worse and worse each day. My evidence for this accusation? Just watch TikTok. That's my evidence. TikTok is a cesspool of pussification. I saw a TikTok video yesterday of a girl in tears because she had a cricket infestation in her house, and she was told by someone that killing them or removing them was bad luck. So what does she do? She goes on TikTok and cries to the rest of us as if we remotely give a shit. Back to the topic at hand. Obviously, this trade was a mistake. Mark Fogel, who is another American over there, was allegedly caught with 17 grams of cannabis in his luggage, is also facing time in Russia. Why aren't we dealing with getting him out? I'll tell you why. Brittany Griner is a member of a protected class in this country. Mark Fogel is not. As for Paul Whelan, the problem with that case is that Russia has a history of conducting show trials and consistently lying about why certain individuals are detained. Was he there actually spying? Probably not. The Kremlin has no credibility when it comes to honesty. And finally, all these idiot Americans need to stop traveling to Russia. Okay, we need to draw a line in the sand and say, if you go, we aren't doing a damn thing to get you out. If you get in trouble, you are on your own. Looking forward to the conversation.
All right, so let me preface this and say that I had no illusion that there was going to be disagreement amongst the panel on this topic, but nonetheless, it's in the news, so I figured we had to at least kick it around. That's why this is a two-topic night. So, man, I don't even know where to start with this. So, the Marine, all right, you had our guy who served the country honorably, United States Marine. All right, he goes over to Russia. He says he was set up. He went over to Russia allegedly for a wedding. He said he was set up by the Russian government, arrested, and held for espionage. Now, let's look at this. Let's take this at face value. Let's say he was set up. How fucked up is that, guys? Okay, he was set up by the Russian government. He's being held for, ransom, essentially, by the Russian government if he's completely innocent, right? Shouldn't that be priority number one to get this dude over there or get this dude back to the United States if that's the case? Okay, well, let's look at the flip side of that. Let's say he is an American spy. So he served the country honorably as a United States Marine. And then he goes on, again, this is assuming that he's a spy. He goes on to serve the United States as a spy, right? And then he gets captured by essentially the enemy, right? The people he's spying on for us. Why in the world would we not push harder to try to get our guy back? This stuff happened in the Cold War. They did spy swaps all the time. And literally, I mean, Trump never got him back. Okay, so there's that. And now it's like you never even really heard about these poor guys, locked up in Russia until Brittany Griner got arrested over there. And it's like, oh my God, stop everything. We have to get her back immediately. This Marine's been in the Russian prison, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, for I believe like 4 years. So, I mean, Jesus, they make a prisoner swap here for a arms dealer. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but the movie Lord of War is based off this guy. That's how serious of a criminal he is. And, they traded him for her. Unbelievable. Unfreaking believable. So anyways, with that, guys, I'm going to open it back up the floor to everybody so we can kick this around.
Well, I don't really view the guy as a criminal. I mean, I think it's a human right to be able to protect yourselves. I mean, this guy in the right circumstance, like right people, if you're coming on the wrong, if you're trying to fight the oppressor, right, trying to be a liberating force, this is the guy you need, right? Because he's going to do the things these nation states ain't willing to get their hands dirty. If you actually look at some of the stuff, the U.S. government was actually contracting this guy to buy weapons, to do their little, work that they're one and done. So this guy, was an equal opportunity arms provider, which, I think that's a human right to be able to defend yourself. So I don't see there's anything necessarily wrong with what he's doing. And then, of course, you're going to want to get the Circus Reformer Act out because, hey, who doesn't love their bread and circuses? So you got to keep that ball rolling. And I guess she's a good enough performer that keep people distracted.
I think this comes down a lot. This is just very political. I mean, I think everybody knows it. This comes down to who can benefit here and who can spin this into their advantage. Biden doesn't give a shit about either one of them. But by him getting Griner out, he garnered support from communities. He garnered support from organizations. He garnered support from the news media and looks like a big hero. If he had have gotten this Marine out, the story would have probably barely even hit the news. It would have spent about 2 minutes on the news one day, and that would have been it, because the people that are supporting that guy are not the ones that are going to go out and generate votes for Biden or for the Democrat Party. And I think it comes down to just being that simple. He took the politically expedient move and doesn't really care about the issue at hand.
Hey, real quick, I want to jump in. I read in the comments, and I can't verify this. I'm going to have to look it up. But somebody says that he had a bad conduct discharge from the Marine Corps. So I'll have to dig into that. If that's the case, he takes a step down in my book, but I don't want to speak too soon.
Yeah, I've heard that, and I heard it briefly, very briefly mentioned on a news show. I mean, just about as briefly as you just mentioned it. I don't have any details, and sometimes on those things, the devil's in the details too. What were, if it's true, what were the details of it? But I would certainly like to know. I mean, I wish we had somebody on that could speak to the details of it. That would be nice.
Wouldn't it be ironic if he got admin set for, popping on a piss test for, THC or something? You know what I mean?
That's a very, that type of charge
That's
is
the
a very
main reason
broad,
for a big chicken dinner.
Yeah, but if that was an argument like the left was making, oh, he got kicked out for bad conduct discharge, and it was, for popping on. Again, I have no clue, guys. I'm gonna have to look into it. It's the first I've heard that.
If he had only violated the former don't ask, don't tell policy, we would be working our asses off to get him out, wouldn't we?
All right, so this is what this guy says: larceny, falsified statements, and dereliction of duty. So if that's verified, that's what he's saying, that that guy got a bad conduct discharge. So, but again, let's take this on face value. People make mistakes. People get kicked out of the service. American citizen goes over there. Let's say if you believe him and what his story is, he's set up by the Russian government, arrested, right? And now he's sitting in a Russian prison for committing no crime. Okay. Or the flip side of this is he was a spy working for us. Maybe the CIA approached him, was like, hey, man, you got a bad conduct discharge. How would you like to reverse that by working for us? This is the way you can do that.
Well, he has multiple citizenships. He's an Irish citizen. He's a citizen of the UK and Canada as well. So he could be spying for any number of agencies there. But I want to go, Bruce, what you were talking about earlier, you're absolutely correct. This whole maneuver was a virtue signal, plain and simple. I mean, what was the major political movement on the left right now is this LGBT bullshit. And that's what it was. But real quick, I want to read a paragraph or two from a New York Times article a few days ago. printed a few days ago. Month after month, as American diplomats pushed for the release of Brittany Griner and Paul Whelan from Russian prisons, they received the same infuriating answer. You want both prisoners. We want Vadim Krazakov as part of the deal. Mr. Krazakov is an assassin who murdered a Chechen fighter in a park in Berlin in broad daylight in 2019, a brazen killing that the German authorities say was committed at the behest of Russia's intelligence service. Convicted and sentenced to life to prison in Germany, Mr. Krazakov was not in U.S. custody, but traded to Russia. So my point with all this is, why are we letting Vlad dictate terms like this? If I was benevolent dictator of the United States of America, I would issue Mr. Putin an ultimatum. You have 10 days to release my people, or I'm giving Ukraine, the Ukrainian Vlad, some nukes. Your countdown begins now. We seriously need to stop kowtowing to our enemies. We are the fucking USA. We need to go back to our Cold War days, like Brent mentioned, when we had more balls.
Yep. Tell Vlad at the end of the week, I'll have an entire air wing and a carrier battle group off your coast fighting the air war for the Ukraine. Let's see how you stand up to that. Yep. Absolutely. That's the hardball you play. You don't trade people for people. You never win that deal.
Hey, this is a good point that this commenter brought up. So he says, if you sit in an American prison for drug offense, you deserve it. You sit in a Russian prison for a drug offense, it's unacceptable. What a mess. So he's pretty much saying there's a double standard, right? So it's like, correct me if I'm wrong, but she was popped for having liquid THC, little THC vials, which here in the state of Texas is a felony. So, people get arrested for that all the time because you have that stuff is legal in other states and they bring it, here in Texas, and you get charged with a felony. It's unacceptable on one hand here back in the States, but then the second somebody gets popped for it over in another country, oh my God, stop everything. They just broke the law. We have to, give up freaking gun running drug lords or gun lords to get her back.
Well, that brings up a great point, Brent. She broke a law that's one of our laws too. So
yeah, but she probably never would have set foot in jail in the United States.
That's neither here nor there, Mike. I mean, the point of it is, it's a law that we have. The fact that the Russians choose to enforce it in their country and we choose not to, that's a choice. It's against the law in both countries. Mr. Whalen seems to have a big chicken dinner, but by the very nature of having your big chicken dinner, you've served your time for your crime. That's why Uncle Sam's done with you. He's put you through whatever he's going to put you through, and he gives you your bad conduct discharge and sends you on your way. You've done your time for your crime. So he's worthy of rescue because he's an American citizen, whether he's got a bad conduct or not. Miss Brittany here, I'm glad she's back. I mean, I don't want anybody to be in that shithole called a Russian gulag, but at the same token, she broke a law in our country, and there, same law. You're just as guilty either way. Yes, we have a different punishment if we even get around to punishing you here for it. But nonetheless, she broke a law and she got punished for it.
And there's lots of countries that obviously have different laws than we do. And you don't get to go to those countries. You go to the Philippines pushing some drugs. See how it works out for you. You guys all laugh because you head over to Southeast Asia. They don't freaking play around over there. There's been a lot of
punishable by death, is it not?
There's been a lot of foreigners
pushed back right out of the helo.
Yeah, there's been a lot of foreigners over there. I think the latest kind of big news cases a few years ago, there was an Australian female that got caught somewhere in Southeast Asia with some drugs, and I believe she was sentenced to death. And I don't know what kind of hoops they had to jump through to get her out, or if they were able to get her out. But they don't play around over there. And the point being is that, in different cultures, you do have different laws, right? And some of them look at our laws and can joke about how stupid our laws are, just like we can joke about how stupid theirs are. But the point being is this: if you go to a foreign country, it is your responsibility to understand the laws and the penalties there. And if you're stupid enough today to go to Russia as an American, you need to know that whether you're breaking a law or not, if they see an opportunity to arrest you for something and trade you out for an arms dealer that they've got in prison, do you think they won't do it? Do you think the Russian government and the Russian justice system has any credibility whatsoever? I mean, use your brain, but people go over there. They're completely oblivious to what's going on around the world. And I joke with people all the time, and this is a little off topic, but Jehovah's Witnesses come around knocking on the doors and say, look, I appreciate what you're doing, but if you really want to do God's work, go do that in Afghanistan. Go do that in Yemen. Go do that in Somalia. Well, they're not going to do that because they'll lose their heads in about 3 seconds. But you've got to respect the laws and the cultures of other countries, or you end up paying the price for that. Or worse, you end up embarrassing us as a country when we have to come bail you out.
Hey, real quick, I want to mention I saw Risky Krisky in the chat. I got to let him know that his daddy, Dr. Larson, is on vacation, so he's probably looking for him. So I thought that was important to be said.
Yeah, Bruce, you're absolutely right. I mean, we're essentially in a proxy war with Russia right now over Ukraine. I mean, it's probably not a good idea to go over there at this point. So you're absolutely right. These people are just ridiculous.
She was picked up right after the invasion, right? Or was it before?
It was after. I don't think
she's. Right?
I believe it was right after, because this whole thing seems like it's been going on a while, but that's only because it's been in the news every day. I want to say it was right after. And someone in the chat, you guys that are spun up on it, and something, please post maybe her arrest date. That should be pretty easy to look up. Something else. If any of you in the chat support her, well, let's hear an opposing view, because I know we're all kind of preaching to the choir here, and Brent typically, except on a few issues, we're all kind of the same mindset between the panel and the chat. But if there's somebody out there that wants to go and defend her, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I think that we all mostly agree on is we're glad she's back. We don't want any Americans over there. But I think we have to admit the price we paid was a bit too high.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, the Russian arms trader guy, he was working for the United States. He's working for this country, that country. I mean, I think it's a net nothing. We got this lady back, whatever. We gave that guy back, whatever. This is much of a big deal at all. It's,
Yeah. So where's Michael? That's a good question, and I know that y'all brought him up when I said opposing view, but unfortunately he wasn't able to make here tonight. So Rec Behold says February 17th, and if I'm not mistaken, that is post Russian invasion through the north towards Kyiv, if I'm not mistaken.
Here's something to discuss. So obviously she was, made a bunch of anti-American comments, particularly towards, racial issues and whatnot. So does anybody have any illusions that her outlook is going to be changed after this?
Nope.
I think the issue with that, and I'm just going to throw my opinion out there, is that while she was sitting over there, she probably was humbled. She was probably scared to death. I know I would be, knowing what my fate was going to be if someone didn't pull some strings and bail me out and get me back into the country. However, I imagine about the first 5 minutes she spent here was all about being surrounded by people who were going to start completely reversing that thought process, that humbling that she would have went through, and making her out to be a more of a political pawn, anti-American, pro everything she was before. And I imagine by the time that we see her out on camera giving interviews, she's going to double down on her positions that she had before she was ever arrested over there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. How long until we see her in a political ad? How long? TikTok.
Oh, yeah. Before the summer gets here, we'll have her book. I'm sure she's already inked the deal.
All right. Have we kicked this around enough?
I've said my piece.
All right. So yeah, I think, guys, this was a topic that we had to mention just because it's in the news. But I don't think we have much disagreement going around. I don't know. I'd be interested to see what Michael had to say on this, but the comments when Michael's on are just outrageous. All right, so let's transition. I'm going to kick it back over to you, Les. Go ahead and introduce our second topic.
All right. Elon Musk has bought Twitter, and in the last week or so, he's been dumping all kinds of internal emails that show that everything that the right was saying was happening, that the left denied was happening, was actually happening. There was shadow banning going on. Whole accounts were marked to not be promoted, or other accounts were being obviously promoted, all out of proportion to the subscribers they had. It looks like now the FBI had people embedded in Twitter to control what information went in and out, and that basically the voice of conservatives was being silenced and hidden, so the voice of the left could overshadow it. Elon Musk now has just recently put out that he's going to drop a bunch of stuff about Dr. Fauci and stuff that was censored because of him. So far what's coming out is pretty revealing, pretty scary, because it's very 1984, and it looks like it's going to keep coming for a while.
Yeah, Elon made a point that if he ends up suicided, he didn't do it. He he very much wants to be alive. I do.
Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, I'm just going to ask if we go around the horn here. I'm curious if any of you guys opened a Twitter account now that Elon's in charge of things, just to kind of put toe in the water, see what it's like now.
That's a good question. I'm curious about the same thing. I've never had Twitter. I think I might have actually clicked a Twitter link twice in my life. It's just not been something I've ever been really interested in doing. But then again, I am the boomer. I tell you though, will I think about opening a Twitter account? No, probably not. Even if Twitter was a bastion of conservative ideas, I don't have time for that. There's very little on there that I can't get somewhere else. At least I don't know what I'm missing. And I'll stop my comment there and let you other guys answer the question that Mike provided.
Yeah, Mike, I've had one since 2018, but I think I've logged into it maybe twice since then. But I think I speak for everyone here when I say this is kind of infuriating. I think what I love most about what's going on is watching the left lose their minds. If you're a leftist, keep crying. I'm loving these tears. And Elon, if you're a fan of the Brent 0331 channel and you're watching, buy Facebook next. Let's keep this going. I'll have the popcorn waiting for all the reactions.
All right, so I don't have a Twitter account. I don't expect to get one anytime soon. For the longest time, it took me forever to get on Instagram, because I'll tell you guys, I have trouble just managing the social medias that I have, and so I'm not looking to jump on another one. But I am interested in seeing what's going on with Twitter, because I'm sure you guys are the same way as me. Like, every single one of these major social media companies, they had the same thing going on. All the stuff that was going on at the higher levels with Twitter was definitely going on with Google and Facebook and Instagram. All of them. They got all that stuff is going on. And hopefully it all just comes out. But what I think is going to be happening is, now that Twitter, all that stuff is getting revealed on that side of the house, you have these other companies are probably going to take extra steps to bury what has transpired in the past. So that's my 2 cents on it.
So I've got a question. I've got a question for everyone real quick. How do we fight back against big tech? How do you guys think we handle this?
Well, the first step, I guess, has been made by Elon. Although, don't get me wrong, I don't want people to make the mistake of thinking I'm some huge Elon fan. I don't trust him as far as I can throw him, but I love the chaos that he's thrown into the leftist bastion known as Twitter. And I'll give credit where credit's due. He's certainly done a good job of that. But I think that to answer your question, Chad, you've got like Brent said, we know every big social media name out there, whether it's Google, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, has done the exact same thing that Twitter did. And they might have done it worse. The only difference is someone with a big enough wallet went in and took over Twitter and exposed it in a way that embarrassed everyone at Twitter that had been working on this. Really, this goes back for years. The same thing could happen at any of those other places. It's not out of the realm of possibility. But as Brent said, you know good and well, they're sitting around the round table right now going, what can we delete? What can we burn? What can we erase? What can we bleach so that no one ever knows that we did it here should things go bad? That our files, that our processes, that what we've done in the past are not secure, and they are going to start taking steps to put in place to ensure that that doesn't happen in their organization, so that they don't suffer from the embarrassment and possibly the liability that some of those at Twitter had. But yes, my point was going to be the same as Brent's, and I can't say it enough. All these other social media companies are doing it too, to one level or another. And how do we fight back on that? Well, Musk is one way, but Musk's pockets aren't deep enough to buy YouTube. They're not deep enough to buy Facebook. You know, he's spent out right now. I think he's got loans out and like 3 mortgages on his 20 houses right now to pay for Twitter. So I don't want to get too far off topic, but let's keep in mind that Musk has a bigger plan than Twitter. For those of you talking about how Twitter's dead, this and that, maybe you're right, but not for the reasons that you think. He wants a social media platform that dominates all the others, that is a one-stop shop. You'll go to his new social media platform and you'll be able to do everything there. You'll have your Amazon. You'll be able to shop. You'll be able to pay your banking through there. You'll be able to tweet. You'll be able to do YouTube videos. You'll be able to connect with your friends on Facebook, all a one-stop shop. That's his big plan. And what he's doing with Twitter, and the reason that he bought Twitter, it was not to go out there and be the bastion of freedom that he makes himself out to be. There's money at the end of that trail for him. And the money is he's studying that. He's studying you, the person with the Twitter account, your post and what you're doing, so that he can create better AI for his new platform that may be coming out in 10 years. That's the big picture. I don't fault the guy for that. Hey, he's a capitalist and he's very innovative and everybody knows that. But he's looking to make that money back, not lose that money dying on the hill for freedom and for outing the leftists.
Yeah, absolutely, Bruce. I really appreciate that point you brought up about Elon actually buying Twitter because he could actually use it to mine data for his Neuralink and other companies like that that he's already got in the works. But how do you fight this? Okay, so here's the thing. We already have the answer. It's called free market and competition. That's how you solve this, right? The issue is a lot of times is in the past, whenever you had a company get too big, they would bring antitrust suits against the company. So you could allow, you know, it's like as Nikola Tesla said to not Emerson, but anyways, when he was working for the guy that invented the light bulb, Edison. Yes, thank you, Edison. When he's working for Edison, he said, "Hey, man, no tree can grow under the shadow of a great oak. Every time you got to go into the forest and harvest some of these bigger trees out so the smaller trees get a chance." And we kind of lost our way as a nation to actually going in and breaking up some of these bigger companies like we did with the Bells, we did with the steel companies, the railroads, the oil companies in the past. You know, it's time to start harvesting some of these big oaks so that some of the smaller trees can pop back up again. I really think that's the only way forward. I don't know if we have the political will. And when I say don't know is I know we don't, but I wish we did have the political will to actually bring some antitrust suits and actually try to create a more even playing field for smaller businesses to emerge and actually have competition. Whenever you get down to like one company does it all, or maybe two, maybe three, it's so easy for them to just get in collusion with each other. And then you get price fixing. Maybe it's not necessarily like a secret meeting, but it's done. Hey, we're going to do policies across all these platforms, whatever. When you have, chaos, so to speak, when you have a lot of new ideas and a lot of people having the freedom and the chance to actually succeed at making something happen, then you have the ability to really bounce and see what products and services work best for the end user. When you have competition, the end user always wins. And I don't know, that's the only way forward I see it.
So when did this all start? So my perception is, after Trump won, they looked at it and they saw that Trump completely circumvented the major, media outlets and pretty much spoke straight to the people via social media platforms. So pretty much used their own tools against him, right? And then we started seeing all these like reforms and all this other stuff after that. And, they learned their lesson. And, sure as shit, the next election, man, they sure as hell silenced him. And look, they got their way. And, arguably the midterms weren't too bad for him either. So, they're still doing it.
Yeah, well, wouldn't they? They lost one, but they still got all the others.
Yeah. So, but the other flip side of it, we haven't effectively found a means of combating that, right? Because what was the response? Oh, we're going to leave Facebook. We're going to leave Twitter. We're going to start our own social media. And they all failed. They all failed in one way or another.
It's just like those who say they're going to leave the country and move to Canada if Trump was elected. And then you come to find out 6 months later, they're all still here. It's like, they're quick to make threats, but if there's not a valid alternative to go to that's up and running and ready to go, it's not going to happen. I mean, Twitter's huge. Like I said, I'm not part of Twitter, but every news media outlet is on Twitter and has been on Twitter for many years. And you look at any famous person, any noteworthy person whatsoever, any name, you just think of a name off the top of your head of somebody that's popular and known, they are going to be on Twitter. They're going to have a Twitter handle, right? Like they are going to be at Twitter, the real whoever, every single one of them. So they've all invested in this media corporation. They all liked it, and now that it's being shaken up, in all honesty, this is where Elon's got them by the balls. They don't really have anywhere else to go to. Facebook is not Twitter. YouTube is not Twitter. Instagram, Telegram is not Twitter. Twitter's where everybody who's anybody is at. That's why I'm not there. But that type of power that Twitter yields, you can't just reverse it just in a day. So everyone is scrambling, whether they're talking about it or not. Every news media, whether it's Fox or it's MSNBC or it's Breitbart or it's whoever, they're struggling with what they're going to do about this. So some may like it, and some may hate it, but there's not a valid option for them to move to at this point.
Yeah, it's like for all the complaints you have about YouTube, you cannot move to any other service and get what you get on YouTube. I mean, look at the gun community tried to go to full 30. It failed. You can go to BitChute, but there's so much crap over on BitChute, it'll scare the hell out of you and stuff, and I hear that's the same over on Rumble. Never bothered to waste my time, but everybody tells me it's the same way. No matter where you go, the tools aren't good enough as you have at YouTube. So YouTube will be a dominant force for a while. Twitter will be a dominant force for a while. And unless you have Elon's money, literally the richest guy in the world, you're not going to start a new service. And look at Elon. He couldn't even start a new service. He had to basically buy one.
Well, I mean, so you go look at some of that. Sorry, Brent, I'll let you go.
Well, I was just going to say, just to piggyback on what Les is saying. So it's like YouTube is such a huge platform, right? I'm going to stick to YouTube because that's what I know. It's such a huge platform. There's so many people on it. And they're not, everybody on YouTube isn't on the left, right? Obviously we're here. But you can't pull out and go to your little corner and live in your echo chamber and expect to bring more people under your tent, right? So if you retreat from this service, you retreat from YouTube, even with all their freaking shenanigans that's going on. We were just talking about this before I went live, guys. So I just hit, recently 500,000 subscribers, right? 500,000 subscribers. Go to my YouTube channel and you will notice that the latest video I just posted has like 1,000 views. The one before that only has like 1.5 thousand views. That's literally less than 1% of my subscribers are watching my videos. 500,000 subscribers, and I'm only getting, like 1,500 views on a video. So, there's some sort of shenanigans going on. That's just my own little personal story. But I say that to say this. We can't retreat from this platform, okay? If you do that, if you pull out and you just leave the enemy to spread their shit, because not everybody's coming with you, okay? Not everybody's following you. If you concede this platform, the largest platform to the enemy, right, to the people of opposite thought, that's what I'm talking about when I say the enemy, you're only leaving the people that are undecided, the people that you haven't brought into your camp yet, to get nothing but the other side's point of view. You have to fight them here. You have to fight them on the mainstream. I'm not saying don't start other stuff. Obviously, if there's viable alternatives that exist, we need to explore that stuff. But at the same time, you can't just pull out of this. You got to fight the good fight. There's good people in California, right? And what do? They keep finding loopholes. They keep finding ways around all those, draconian gun laws. Look at the ARs they have there. They're still AR-15 platforms, but they look like something, used in a space war. But they're fighting the good fight. They're trying to hook and jab. They're trying to, stay within their left and right freaking lateral limit and negotiate around these obstacles that the other side is putting in their way. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's a phenomenal point, Brent. I mean, so many times, the easy answer is to leave, but you give up so much institution that way. You give up so much history, you give up so much reach when you do that. It's very detrimental, like what you're saying. But the point I was going to say is, again, going back to antitrust stuff, is the if you buy a TV, what's bundled on it? You got YouTube, right? You don't have these other alternative media sources. Some of that is just because they're not big enough for it to matter. Some of it is because it's trying to keep some of these other channels out. Look what happened with Elon, where he was scared that they were going to boot Twitter off of the iPhone, where you couldn't even get Twitter on the iPhone, right? I mean, that's what some of these other companies are dealing with. They can't get in the Google Play Store. You can't get in the Apple iPhone because they don't like the lack of censorship that some of these media other platforms have. So it's really, again, going back to these anti-competition policies that these large corporations are putting in place, and there's no repercussions for them to do that, because I think the federal government enjoys these large mega corporations having a stranglehold on communication. Go look what Elon's saying right there on Twitter about how 8 and 3-letter entities were going in and dictating what to censor and what to allow on the platform.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mike, because now we see the FBI had a guy embedded in Elon's organization, and sure, he was still working for his former agency, even though he claimed not to be. And the way we fight back against this is twofold. One, guys like Elon have to fire those guys when they find them. And two, we have to pressure our lawmakers to do something about this. There has to be a consequence. That's a very uphill battle, but it has to be. Some people have to start suffering some consequences for this. Like the FBI director gets relieved or impeached, like they want to do with the border czar, and maybe 2 or 3 levels of underlings below him get shit canned too. I don't think there's a law on the books yet that'll allow you to put somebody in jail for this. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. I'm not a lawyer and I don't play one on TV. but they need to start forcing that. And if nothing else, like a famous Supreme Court justice once said, sunshine's the best disinfectant. You know, maybe just simple congressional hearings on this, mandated to be played on the TV, where different networks can censor them, just straight out play it on TV, and then maybe that's enough to start solving the problem.
Now the problem with that issue is, one, you need a federal government that opposes those types of things, and we've got a federal government that was pushing those types of things. So there is complacent in what was going on over at Twitter and the other big social media companies as anybody. As you said, the FBI was behind it. Well, the FBI doesn't just go rogue and do things. The FBI got a wink and a nod from the Biden administration to do these things, from other administrations to do these things. Maybe not from Trump directly, but from all of the people in the Trump administration that were holdovers from the previous administration. I mean, this is when Trump talked about the swamp, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about this is all part of the swamp. And secondarily, the federal government, when you bring the federal government in to solve a problem, you're desperate, because they are the worst at fixing any problem ever in the history of the world. So do we want them to come in and start fixing these problems? How much damage is going to come out of that? We start giving them more power to censor social media corporations. While it may be in our favor today, tomorrow it may not be. And once they have that power, they're not going to give that power up. It's just something that we've got to think about. We're in a tough situation. We're between a rock and a hard place on this thing. And I'm not sure what answer is necessarily the right answer.
Yeah, I want to address that comment you put up just a second, Brent. It's very interesting. I really kind of have a problem with that comment. Conservatives don't really think in terms of groups. We don't really have racial loyalty. I've been conservative most of my life, and I don't think of myself as a white person or a straight person. I just think of myself as an American. So, to try and push programs that benefit one race over another, there's a term for that. If you have something like racial loyalty, you're not a conservative. That's a left-wing idea. So we believe in concepts like liberty and put that above concepts like equality. So if you come to this country, you need to love liberty, period, point blank.
Yeah, I agree, Chad. I mean, you think about, let's talk about racism that's plagued this country. You've got slavery, you've got segregation, you got Jim Crow, you've got affirmative action, you've got many other things that were all opposed by one group of voters, Democrats.
Truth. So I kind of think with that comment, and I highlighted that comment because I thought it was an interesting comment, and I want to point out that Ron DeSantis pulled that off in Florida, right? You had virtually that whole state overwhelmingly voted Republican, and there were some pretty blue areas in that state. And what they did is they brought conservative ideas, right? And they extended that and brought those people into the tent. And I think to the heart of that comment is what that individual is trying to get to. Maybe I interpreted it wrong, but I think what he's trying to say is that we need to extend those ideas, right? We need to show those people, because if all they're hearing is, "Oh, Republicans are racist," right, and that's all they hear, and they're not hearing, "Hey, liberty," freaking less government intrusion in your life, small government. If you're not conveying those thoughts and ideas to them, we're not going to increase our tent.
Yeah, I mean,
No, that's right.
it's really simple to figure out what America. Read the Declaration of Independence and go read the United States Constitution. It's not a very long read at all, especially the Declaration of Independence, and it opens up with a very good commentary on why governments are created, why they're put in place, and what purposes. And you just got to hold people accountable to what their purpose is, but people need to also understand what they're there for and what their limitations are. And when you ask a government to do more for you, you're asking to build a bigger fire that'll eventually burn you.
What we got? Do we spend more rounds on this topic too?
No, I mean, it's a disturbing topic. And the thing is, I'm not on Twitter. I've never felt the need to be, because anytime somebody says something on it, the news reports it all over. It's like, why do I have to have Twitter? Everybody will tell me what's on it. But clearly it's the major communication system for social, interaction between each other. There's other systems out there. They don't seem to be as as widespread, but everybody uses WhatsApp. Everybody does Signal. There's a few people out there left even still using Facebook messengers. In the business world, it's frustrating to me. People don't just call me. People just don't email me. They text me through my iPhone. I get WhatsApps. I get Signals. And then I'll get some request from somebody via text. Hey, don't you use this service too? It's like everybody's got options out there. Twitter just seems to be the dominant one.
Yeah, it reminded me of a point I was going to make earlier. I got a buddy who was he's a smart guy, but I mean, I guess I'll just tell the story like it is. He was about a year and a half ago all about getting this Linux phone, right? The Linux phone idea was, I guess it's a phone that you can build on your own, right? Like you can put it together, right? You can program it and all this stuff. And it's not going to track what you're doing. It's going to be a more secure phone. It's not going to be woke, pushing agendas, all this stuff, whatever. Then I found out about 2 months ago, he's asking my wife what new iPhone he should get. The reality is we want things that are easy. I don't blame him for this. I don't blame him at all. We want things that are easy. We're not fat Americans for no reason. We're lazy. We want to burn fewer calories every day than we did the day before. It's just the American way. We have to accept that, right? Like it is what it is. And if fewer calories mean instead of me having to build a Linux phone, I just buy a $1,400 phone off the shelf and it does all this. I can look at all the porn I ever wanted to look at right here on my phone. It's awesome, right? The downside to that, the problem with that though, is that we're giving up all of these freedoms. We're making things easy for social media companies to do what they do, because we're not leaving Google, we're not leaving Twitter, we're not leaving YouTube or any other of these big news agencies. People are still going to watch CNN, they're still going to watch Fox, etc. We just want things to be easy. I mean, you've got Samsung people and you've got iPhone people, right? But they're two peas in the same pod. They do the same thing. They're tracking you the same way. They're taking the same information away from you. That's all I'm saying, is that we want things that'll be easy. And until providers, and I know Elon is working on this. This is the one thing that Elon's doing right. I don't know what the outcome's going to be, but you guys are asking, how do we get away from that? Well, there's two things that we have to do to get away from that. We create an alternative platform, and it is easier than the platform it's competing with. Then everybody will flock to it. You won't have to push it on them. I mean, I keep saying this. I'm a boomer. All right, I was born in 1948. But back when my day, nobody had a phone. And if you had to come to me when I was 20 and said, hey, Bruce, will you pay $1,200 for a cell phone? I'd have said, hell no, that's 2 house payments. Get the hell out. I will never pay that for a phone. I'm complaining about my $18 a month landline. Now, when someone says, hey, I got a $1,400 iPhone and a $100 phone bill to go with it every month, do you want it? I'm like, take my money. Give me the new phone. I can't wait to have it. We have to take these things into consideration, because even though some of you guys are you say I could cut it all out, I could quit it, you're the exception to the rule. Most Americans are like, no way. You mess with my phone, cut down on my internet connection, whatever, I'm freaking out. All right, burn the city down, like it's the end of the world. All right, guys, that's my rant. I'm needing a refill, and my wife just walked in, so let me take care of a little admin right here.
No, you're right, Bruce. A lot of people can't disconnect. Like last summer I was over in Finland at a shooting competition in the middle of a Finnish military base where this didn't work. Best day ever. It was freaking awesome. Did not work at all. And I could totally enjoy what I was doing. It was great. One of the things I love about going to One Shepherd, both locations, Alpha and Bravo Company, this thing barely works. Unfortunately, every time I go out there, it gets more and more signal and work catches up to me. But that's one of the greatest things about an FTX. When it's 0300 and I'm shivering and waiting for the next attack, at least I don't have to deal with my phone.
Speaking of, have you noticed that these FTXs at One Shepherd are getting more and more technological? Like that last one I was at Bravo Company, like we found that mesh network and then dudes are throwing drones up in the air. Like, Jesus.
Oh yeah. We had a kind of a drone contest going on there. Both sides had them. There was that mesh network. The one team had its own dedicated ELINT team they brought. I mean, but that's just the nature of warfare. I imagine way back in the day, in the time of when muskets and matchlocks were just coming about, all the guys with pikes were like, look at those geeks.
Yeah, I know what you mean. My dad in the 80s was saying the old bag phones in your cars were electronic chains and he wanted nothing to do with it. So, but to Bruce's point, you're absolutely right, man. This is a really nice pen to live in. I mean, they made it super comfortable for us. I'm just I'm not even going to think about when they're going to harvest us.
If they do it right, you won't know, Mike. No, but it is amazing how the phone has become so pervasive in life. I mean, you can pay for things with your phone. You can get on the airplane with your phone. And nowadays, like my industry is dominated by documents, especially for the commodity of cargoes I ship. And I need everything in PDF format. My biggest argument, and I have it at least once a day with a customer in a foreign country. Thank you for sending me your import permit. That's great. I cannot use a picture on WhatsApp. Please email me the PDF. And I have that conversation every damn day. And it's getting worse. Because where I used to get an email 5 years ago, now I get a signal or a WhatsApp with a picture of what I want. And it's usually a crappy picture that's unreadable.
Yeah, but I mean, that's just going to become more and more the norm. I mean, look where we are and where we're going. Like, now snipers have ballistic computers in their palm of their hand, right? And a cell phone. Guys have essentially what used to be a Blue Force tracker is now in the palm of their hand, right? I mean, it's just, if we pivot on topics here and talk warfare, it's just progressing more and more. But, none of this has taken the place of, basic infantry skills. Right? If you're watching these videos out of Ukraine, there's videos of like drones dropping grenades and shit, on people, but there's far more videos of, infantry firefights and, tank battles and just standard combat going on. So it's like, if people think that just technology is completely taken over the battlefield, they're 100% wrong. It's just supplementing the battlefield. I see these comments all the time, because I do the camouflage videos, and I see these morons post sometimes like, "Oh, camouflage is obsolete." Really? Because of thermal? Oh yeah, because thermal can't fucking be defeated at all, right? It just sees through everything. You can see completely through trees, and it reminds me of like, the old movies and stuff with like Terminators and stuff. It's just people think technology is so much further advanced than it actually is. I mean, it's great, it's good stuff out there, but it's not the end all be all. It's just supplementing the basics of warfare.
Oh yeah. The people who make that comment haven't gone to the field and used thermal. They just haven't.
Yeah, I think the comment is most
you kind of stole my
true
thunder.
in the environments that you don't find human beings. So in the ocean and in the air and now in space, technology is going to be king. But on the dirt, a rock can still be viable.
Absolutely. Technology is great, but don't rely on it. I remember training in the deepest, darkest Okinawan jungle without NVGs at night. So just keep it real when it comes to training. Train on everything. Know how to use it, but don't rely on it exclusively.
Yeah, I mean, it gives you an advantage for sure, but it's not the advantage everybody thinks. I mean, I think we're all willing to admit, as awesome as night vision is, no night vision we've ever experienced works as well as night vision in a video game.
Yeah, it also doesn't make that cool sound.
I also want to point out, not that the both sides had drones during that one FTX, but neither of those drones found anybody.
No, that's a great point, Brent, because that wasn't the first FTX drones have been used. And of the 3 FTXs I've been to where people have bought drones, I've not seen them get anything useful out of them.
All right, what else we got?
Well, there was a comment that Bob John made. This is a new topic, a little off topic, but he said something to the effect of Trump's wanting to go after the Constitution and take freedom of speech away from journalists. I know that's been in the news a little bit, where he made a comment, something to that effect. I'm not spun up on it, but I thought it was an interesting idea, because if we take that at face value, and that's what he said, and Chad, I'm sure you're spun up on it, and you can correct the record. But that reminded me, when I heard that headline, that reminded me of our founding fathers. I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken, Adams, who also wanted to do something similar. The press was simply printing lies about him. They're flat out untrue. They were saying this guy's a bunch of bad things, and he's like, no, I'm not. But how do I combat this? Especially go back to the 1780s, where you only had a printing press, you only had newspaper that was delivered on horseback. How do you combat someone states away from printing complete and utter lies about you? And he wanted to go in and make a law that would criminally punish people for doing that. And I think that the country decided, fortunately, through time, that was a bad idea, and that politicians shouldn't be able to control what the press prints, even if they don't like it, and even if it's a blatant lie about them. That I just found it an interesting topic. If you guys might want to speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, who watches the watchers? It's a great question. My personal idea, one of the things I think could be done to bring the press under control. Right now, if, say, a newspaper prints something on the headline and it's completely and utterly false, the retraction will be in section D, page 30, down at the bottom of the page, saying, oopsie, we said Mr. Jones said this, but actually it was Mr. Smith. And no, I think one of the things we should have a law requiring, you have to atone for your mistake where you make it. So if some news host goes out on the 8 o'clock cable news show and says, blah, 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 the governor of so-and-so did this, and he molested children, and he didn't, the next 8 o'clock show that comes up, you have to, well, we said the governor of so-and-so did that, and no, he actually did not do that. We were wrong. And I think if they had to atone for their sins where they made them, that would go a long way towards solving the problem right there, because then your famous news people would start to get tarnished, and maybe they'd be looked at with a whole lot more skepticism.
Yeah, I think that the idea in the beginning, well, we're going back hundreds of years, but was that the people would hold the news media or the paper printer accountable, and that they would say, don't buy this rag, it's full of lies. Once they were lied to, though, the American people would be offended. Why did they lie to me about Adams? Why did they lie to me about Jefferson? Why did they lie to me about this or that? We're not going to buy their paper anymore. We're not going to be a part of their circulation anymore because it's untrue. But today, that's not the case. Like, look at Twitter. Look at Twitter. We know they lied. We know the Hunter Biden laptop story was covered up by multiple media agencies, by multiple social media accounts, and blessed and pushed by the FBI. Look at the viewers of those stations, of those people, of those corporations that pushed that idea. Do you think they went down? Didn't have any impact on them at all. The same amount of people are watching them today that were watching them then. People don't care. They don't want to hear the truth. They want to hear the narrative that makes them feel good every day. It's a weird phenomenon in this country. I don't know if it happens in other places or not, but to me, it's very strange. To me, I want to hear the truth. I want to hear how Trump was a gun grabber. I want to hear how Trump went out on his own against both houses in Congress and banned bump stocks on his own without any support from Congress. I want to hear about that. I want to hear the good and the bad and the ugly about everybody before I vote for them, about every story before I make a decision on them, because I'm seeking the truth. But apparently I'm not like a lot of Americans. There are a lot of Americans that have a narrative in their mind, and they want stories that back up that narrative and support that narrative.
Take the guns and then due process. Remember that one?
Yeah. Let's just ban it and let the courts figure it out. Now, Obama did the same thing, not on firearms, but Obama had executive actions, and they're like, Mr. President, this is unconstitutional. Well, we'll let the courts decide. Just kick the can down the road. We'll violate Americans' rights for 4, 5, 6 years before the Supreme Court can even take it up, if they even take it up. And then if they do, then great. And if they don't, in the case of bump stocks, well, the individual who came up with the idea feels like he was in the right because it's not been overturned. It's completely, it's absolutely ridiculous. But that's where we are today.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, you have all these branches of government that's like, hey, can't somebody else do this? You know, and then you have the bureaucrats like, oh yeah, I'll figure it out for you. Don't worry about it.
I kind of want to go on a silver lining here with this. You know, I personally am against any regulations of the press, period. Trump is an idiot if that's the route he wants to go. He's going to lose a lot of support over that. I promise you. But I remember reading a long time ago that journalists lean something like 70 to 80% Democrat. It's just a profession that attracts that type of person. Will they lie? Sure. You know, we have alternative media, though. That's kind of the great thing that we have today. You know, we have other media sources. You know, if you and the media, the corporate media tends to call each other out. I don't know if you guys, you know, if you watch Fox News, for example, they have stories on a story that CNN or MSNBC reported, and vice versa. So you got all these corporate medias just calling each other out. You know, the system isn't fair, and there's a lot of BS. But you know, again, I don't want any regulation on the press. Today, anyone with a phone is essentially a reporter, and you know, there's enough videos going around on places like YouTube and stuff like that where if you dig a little deep, if you do a little digging, you'll find out the truth.
Yeah, I mean that's really what it come down to. You know, the majority of the information, the conspiracy theories, are guys doing their own reporting, and not just, you know, actually becoming journalists, investigative journalists. They're having to take that on their own because these big corporations, the media has been distilled down until it's only just a few organizations that are actually letting us know that that's going to be whatever the biases are of that organization. And you know, it's competition. It's really easy to get in collusion with one another. And oh, by the way, not to offend anyone, any of the bureaucrats or anything, you know, or the oligarchs. So, you know, that's you know, again, it's competition solves these problems. We just need to have the grounds to be able to compete, you know, for people to be able to compete. Again, antitrust stuff. That's how I say you fix it.
Yeah, I think another thing that's been done, and I'll give Trump credit for this, all his press secretaries were very active people. You know, they had no problem pushing back, whereas all the previous presidents just they had milquetoast people. All Trump's people got out there and called them out, and he kind of, you know, I wish he'd have really employed Arlie Ermy, but he kind of employed people with that attitude, you know, that weren't afraid to call them out when they made bullshit statements. One of my favorite things is when Kayleigh McEnany played a whole video of them saying things they said they didn't do. I mean, that was just a great press conference.
And to see their face when she did it.
It was awesome. Absolutely freaking awesome. And a politician who has a press corps that pushes back like DeSantis is doing, where they just said, no, we're not inviting the regular media. You're going to lie and say your own crap anyways. So we'll invite these other journalists in and give them access. I think that's probably another way that we combat this is just start, leaving it to the people who are in the news, whether they're politicians or people like Elon Musk, to pick their own media and put their story out that way, kind of like Elon's doing with going to Substack and these other journalists that have proven track records, but not at major mainstream media companies. So the story's getting out despite the mainstream media wanting to suppress it.
And
course,
you actually saw that.
doing.
You actually saw that happening quite a bit on YouTube and other social media outlets in the early 2000s. Well, there's been a little backlash to that, and you can see who's getting priority as far as the algorithms picking and choosing. It's now these mainstream media corporations as opposed to the independent guys. But to your point, Les, you're absolutely spot on. The only way you solve it is through giving those guys your attention.
Yeah. But you also make a point too, Mike, like the early independent journalists up there. And yeah, the major media is getting promoted by the algorithm. But notice the guys like Joe Rogan and Tim Pool and Ben Shapiro, they're still hanging around too. And they're definitely not mainstream media. So the algorithm only censors out so far, because I'm sure the algorithm goes, hey, Tim Pool says stuff we don't like, but so many people are watching him and he's generating all this ads, so we don't want to kick him off completely.
Yeah, it's the same with Joe Rogan, right? Like their immediate knee-jerk reaction is, let's ban this guy. And then the finance, they send it to finance, and finance is like, hold on a minute now. This guy is making us millions and millions and millions of dollars. You may not like his message, but by God, his money's green, and that's our favorite color, right? I think that's a good point. That's a good point. And ways to get the message out without having to go through the mainstream media is something like what Joe Rogan's done with Spotify and Tim Pool. I know he has his own channel. He's got a lot of excerpts on YouTube and other outlets as well. They've definitely created their own path. Whether you fully agree with them or not doesn't matter. It's a model that other voices could look at and try to mimic.
Well, I want to kind of go back, and I think it was you, Les, talking about people. We were saying like kind of getting fined or having laws against saying lies and stuff.
Well, no, just make them accountable in the place where they make their mistake. So if like tonight at the 8:00 cable show on a network, the head guy comes out and says, politician so-and-so did X, and you're all like, oh, I'm horrified. And it turns out to be complete BS. They don't get to sit there and bury it in their 5 a.m. news show saying, oh, last night our main thing said this, and it turns out not to be true. No, commentator A has to go right back there on his 8:00 show 2 nights later and go, yeah, well, I said politician X did this, and in truth, he did not. The real truth is that he introduced a bill to stop people from doing X. Just as a blatant example. Account for their errors.
I kind of think that's a slippery slope, though, and the reason I say that is because let's take like the mask issue, for instance, right? Go back to COVID. And it's like you had people coming out in the early days and like, hey, these masks don't do shit. And it's like all these people are like, they're lying, liars. You need to apologize. And they get banned, and YouTube, deletes their videos or whatever the case may be. Okay. So they were the lie of the time. And then fast forward, well, now those people were proven to be accurate, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's kind of a slippery slope, because you have somebody that says, oh, that's a lie, blah, 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 blah. You need to correct that. You need to go on the record and correct yourself. And then it turns out down the road, oh, no, it's the complete opposite. So I think it may be a slippery slope trying to come at it in that approach.
Yeah, there was
Oh, I
a
don't
time
deny
everybody
that.
thought the world was flat. And if you disagreed with them and you spread misinformation, you got your head lobbed off. What you think is truth today may turn out not to be truth. I mean, I certainly believe that in terms of masking, there were some people who really genuinely believed that they made a difference. And it took a while to find out and to convince everybody that they didn't. There were some people that genuinely believed getting a vax would keep you from getting the virus. And we found out later that that wasn't the case, that it didn't. People still do. Okay, fair enough. There's still a handful of people that aren't watching this stream. We got to bump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers because we'll get that information out to you. But yeah, I mean, it's like when to sort of Brent's point for less is Facebook has fact checkers. They were just wrong about the facts, but they had a program in place to stop the spread of misinformation. And when somebody was saying something that they felt was not true, they shut down that story. They held the poster accountable. They banned accounts. It just happened to be that their facts were not what we consider real facts. So I think that's a slippery slope that Brent's talking to. And
Maybe you just narrowly define it, though. It's like
look,
if I have a show and say, "Hey, Senator so and so from New Jersey, he stole things," I'm like, "No, he didn't. He didn't steal anything." Well, that's what you're held accountable for, you know. If you sit there and you go, "Hey, I think you shouldn't wear a mask because I think it's complete bullshit," well, okay, that's an opinion. Opinion's different than fact. You know, it's my opinion. Masks don't do shit. You know, and I say it. That's one thing. But if I sit there and I accuse somebody, hey, you stole something, you stole this thing, you intentionally did this thing against the law, and they didn't break the law, then yeah, there should be some accountability for that.
I wish, I don't disagree. I mean, I wish that everything we got on the news was based in truth. And I wish that when there was a situation that there were two sides of the story, both sides of the story received equal coverage, equal amount of time and equal effort to get both those views out there. Unfortunately, I just feel like that's not the world we live in. And I'm not sure the government getting involved is going to be the right answer.
I think the Les's point, just to back him up here, is, I think you're talking about defamation, like scarlet lettering someone, and it like if they and slander and libel, right? So those are the things that are already addressed in law. When a person says false information about another person or entity or whatever, it's only when you can say something that's truthful is when you can actually say like nasty things about entity. Correct.
Yeah, and sort of to Les's point, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, you have a news story that goes something like this. Joe, don't come after me, but I'm going to use your name as an example. Is the allegations that our office is receiving are that Joe Rogan is a pedophile. And today we're going to dig deep into that story. That's BS. It's completely made up, right? But then they come back and they go, well, we premised that by saying they were just allegations. And really all they had to do was find one drunk homeless guy on the street for $10 to make the allegation. And it's a factual statement that they posted, even though it's complete BS. The thing is, we've all come to learn is that you can't trust the news media in nothing, because they will word something and make it and mislead people intentionally, knowing exactly what they're doing. And then like a bunch of cowards turn right around and go, we didn't say it like that. We always worded a little out somewhere in the small print.
Just going to respond to somebody's comment. They're asking where Doc is. So again, if you weren't with us from the beginning, he's on vacation.
And by
With his
vacation,
sex
I mean
robot.
he's testing his sex robots.
You guys have got to understand that Doc has got what's called boomer vacation. All right. He worked back in the day where you had pensions and you had all these benefits, and he can take 8 weeks of vacation and go sit on the beach and watch the girls walk by, or guys, whatever he's into. That's Doc's prerogative. Okay. I know that you guys today, when you're out on a sick day, you're called in front of the man because you had the flu and you missed a half a day at work. But these boomers like Doc and such, they have time built up and pensions, and they have all these benefits and Social Security and all these AARP and all these. He can go to Burger King and get breakfast for $2 because of his gray hair. There's all kind of benefits that come when you live back in the day like Doc did, and he's just living life to the fullest.
And testing sex robots.
The guy's got stamina, if nothing else.
I'll tell you what, if these live streams have done one thing for me, it's like opened my insight to like some of these terminology that's getting used, right? So like boomer apparently doesn't mean like the generations. It's referring to a mindset apparently. So it doesn't mean what we think it means. And then I've seen this new one, bro vet. Have you guys seen this one? So can somebody spin me up on that one? Because I've seen that reference multiple times tonight.
Have you been accused of such, Brent?
They were accusing all of us.
It tonight.
Yeah, it was like these bro vets. You need to, or vet bro, whatever the hell it was.
So this is just what I've seen. There's a guy, I forget his YouTube channel. Angry Cops. Angry Cops has a character that he plays that's a bro vet. And my thinking on it essentially is a guy that was he's now out of service, but he's still in the space because he was genuinely interested in infantry stuff or whatever, that was his hook to get in. And when he gets out, now he has a greater understanding and everything. And but he's still doing a lot of the tactical training and things of that nature. And he's also more fired up about civic participation because he thinks he can make a difference in that way. So he's trying to marry civic participation with his military experience and interests. So that's
in other words, us.
So it's not a derogatory.
It depends on what side of the political party you're on.
Because I was kind of getting the vibe that it was a derogatory comment.
I don't know. I think most of my friends are bro vets, I guess.
Anyways, all right. Well, I'm still in, so I guess that doesn't apply to me.
Not
So
yet.
FYI.
Man, not yet.
Well, I guess if we still classify as boomers, even though we weren't even anywhere near that generation time period, then I guess you can be a bro vet.
Yeah, literally, my dad was barely a boomer, but somehow I have carried on that tradition, and I would be okay if you guys calling me Boomer Junior. I'll take that, I suppose.
So you're going to pull out your 1911, Bruce, and go 2 World Wars.
Yeah, my 1911, my M1 Garand, and my McNamara jump boots, and just go falling down at the Burger King.
Well, you want to talk about freaking unbelievable stuff, like all those weapons, all the classic surplus firearms, man, through the roof prices. Unbelievable. You know who, if you guys ever watch Mike's Militaria, he's actually posted recently like a series of like three or four videos, talking about like the price jump since I think it was like 2012. And it's funny to me because I started collecting, well, I use the term collecting loosely, but I started buying right when I left active duty in 06. And that's kind of when I started buying guns, mainly because of Chad. Chad showed up. I got to tell this story. So, so when I met Chad, I checked in to the same reserve unit in late 06, early 2007. I can't remember. Anyways, and I met Chad and found out that, he lived by me. And I'm like, hey, man, you like shooting? He's like, fuck yeah, I love shooting, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, why don't you come out, let's go shoot. So he comes out and shoots. And I thought I was king shit at the time. I had an SKS and a shotgun. That was the starter package back in the day. And Chad comes out and he just starts pulling out guns, and they're all wrapped in towels, because he lived in an apartment complex, so he had to carry them, out of his apartment down to his car. So they're all wrapped in towels. So he starts unraveling them and pulling out. He had like 20 fucking guns, right? And you want to talk about having your man card pulled? I was like, I'm sitting there with my like Bubba-fied SKS and my 12 gauge shotgun. And I was like, so ever since then, all the money I had with the GI Bill went towards guns.
You're welcome.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So I am no longer in that camp, but I kind of got sidetracked. But anyways, yeah. So the price differences, Mike, we can't read it. But yeah, right there, that Yugo SKS, that was my first SKS. Is that back from like 2012 or what?
What's the price on that, Mike? What can I get that for?
This is 2007. You could buy it from, I don't think these guys are, Samco Global. You could buy a Yugo SKS for $139. And that includes all the fixings. You get the ammo pouch. You get, the oiler, cleaning rag, all that stuff. You got German Mausers on here for $200. German Mausers.
So yeah, so that's kind of when I started, right? So like I bought that Yugo SKS from Cabela's. Now Cabela's always sold stuff a little bit more, so I think I paid like $200 for that Yugo SKS back then. But now they're double, if not triple the price. Yeah, I mean that's just everything. Yeah, I mean it's unbelievable. All the surplus stuff is just through the roof. And then who would have thought, back then ARs were super expensive. Now it's the complete opposite.
Yeah, and a quality AR now is less than it was 15 years ago. I mean, that's the one thing that's come down because the market's absolutely saturated with them. We can thank the sunset of the assault weapons ban for that.
Yeah, somebody posted on your, budget AR is like the entry level gun now. So it's like what the SKS used to be is like now your Palmetto State Armory AR-15.
No, it's true. It's true. I just priced out a Yugo SKS yesterday, and in all honesty, one in mint condition, in really, really, really nice condition, is almost worth $600. You can get a Colt AR-15 for just a little over $800, just to put things in perspective.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. I can't believe what the prices are nowadays for that stuff. So
yeah, it's crazy. And it's what really gets me is in the 80s, all the guns we saw in Soldier of Fortune, Galils, Valmets, and everything, or of course the back cover of every Soldier of Fortune, an HKG3, HK91 or HK93, the ungodly price of $600 back then. Now one of those would cost you easily $4 or $5 grand.
Look at that. So that 1919, what is that? 1,200?
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I paid for mine way back then. I'm so glad I bought that shit. So I got all my bucket list guns. Yeah, so now it's like when I buy a gun, it's because of it's something I didn't realize I wanted. it's like it pops up in an email like, oh my God, I have to have that.
Let's be honest, Brent. You're like me. You want them all.
Yeah, no. Yeah, don't get me wrong. If I could have them all, I would. But so a lot of those guns back in the day, and Bruce could vouch for this, that like I passed on back then, and it's like, several years pass, and it's like, oh man, I should have bought that. I end up getting obsessed, and it's like I have to have this gun, and I'll check Gunbroker like every single day until it pops up, and then when it pops up, it's like I'm ready to take a second mortgage on my house just to own it.
You guys have got to understand. I'm gonna be very careful with my wordage here because I don't want to end up in the same camp as Kanye. But Brent is extremely thrifty. Okay, Brent is you get in front of the old lady at the Kroger and she's got a coupon for a stick of gum. That's Brent, and he's missed a few deals because he was Google searching free shipping codes when there was one left in stock at a smoking deal, and he goes to process out and finds out that they're out of stock. So that's Brent for you. If you guys ever need to buy anything at all, reach out to Brent and he can get you the very best deal. Free shipping, no tax, and something thrown in for free, because that's the only way he buys anything.
Oh, dude, look at that Romanian PSL. Look at that, $750. So I bought mine for $700. Those
That's
things
with
are
the scope.
like, yes, those things are like $2,000 now. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, but to Brent's comment, Mike's Militaria. If you guys are looking for a fun channel to follow, the guy's kind of hilarious. He's a former Army vet, and he's a Militaria collector, and he sells stuff kind of small scale on the side, Militaria surplus, but he's got a bunch of videos on guys like me, boomers, and funny stuff that boomers do, gun show guys going, I know what I got. Military equipment that he's got in stock. I subscribe to his channel just for the entertainment value. He's a funny dude.
So one of these guys in the comments says it's the Brandon gun price hike, but honestly, if you watch Mike B's channel, and I agree with his assessment on this, he said that the classic surplus stuff prices jumped after Sandy Hook. And the reason that happened is because all the ARs, the AKs, the traditional stuff that we shoot, on a daily basis and whatnot, like all that was sold out. So you had all these people like panicking. It's like, I just got to buy a gun. I got to buy a gun. I don't give a fuck what it is. I got to buy a gun, right? Because everybody thought that Obama was going to somehow pull this gun ban out of his ass. So you had all these people go and they just bought up all the surplus, right? Because they just wanted to buy a gun. Because they thought it was all going to get freaking taken away for one reason or another. And what you had was once these people got these firearms and they realized like, hey, these things are actually really good shooters, and more and more people just, all the stuff was bought up, and the want desires it, plus video games, like all these video games that were coming out, like World War II video games, and Korea and Vietnam and whatnot. And like more and more people are wanting these firearms. So that accounted for, the increased demand on that. Plus, all that stuff is not getting made anymore. There's only so many of them in the world. And once they're gone, they're gone. So, you're having a depleted stock already. And then you introduce these other factors into it. And, it's just a recipe for disaster. What is that? Romanian?
$150. I wish.
Wow, you
can barely buy. You can barely buy the.
That's just the parts kit.
You can barely buy the furniture.
Back then, that parts kit had everything you needed except the receiver. Yeah. Now you import a parts kit, everything's got to be cut up, no barrel. Yeah. It's almost not worth doing.
Right. So, well, I think we've reached culmination, guys. We're not even remotely talking about what we started. There you go. So that's what I remember. So when I was younger, I remember going to the gun show with my old man, and he bought a Bruce. You have one of these. I can't remember what they're called. It's a Norinco. It looks like an RPK, but it's not an RPK, but it looks like one. It's got a longer barrel.
Yeah, it's an NHM-91, which is a Chinese AKM with a long, heavy barrel and bipod. It's essentially a Chinese RPK.
Yes. So I was at the gun show with him, and my old man bought that for like, I want to say it was like $300. And I also bought a flak jacket, an old Pasget flak jacket. And so I'm walking out, I'm a young teenager at the time. I'm walking out of the gun show downtown Dallas. I got this RPK clone on my shoulder with a flak jacket on, and we're walking to my old man's truck. Freaking America. America.
Old Pazgat. Screw you. Oh man.
Dude, you know how many flaks have came out since then?
Oh, I know. And so I just remember Pazgat was brand new when we got in and stuff.
Yeah.
And so new that some reserve unit came to do summer camp with us when I was on active duty. And in the field, they put on the older style flak jackets. They hadn't even got Pazgat yet.
So we're getting that point too in my Marine Corps career where, I mean, it's probably already passed. The terms we use. So it's like in the Marine Corps, it was like everything was a flak. Didn't matter, plate carrier and all this other, crazy terminology we have for shit nowadays. Everything was a flak. Get your flak in Kevlar. Get your flak in Kevlar. A poncho liner is a poncho liner. Fucking, that's what we call it. But now, you have, YouTube, and there's so much cross pollination now with, YouTube and other stuff that you got Marines calling poncho liners fucking whoobies. And, the older generations, they're not calling stuff flat. I mean, it's still kind of used flak and Kevlar, but I can see it going the way of the dodo, man. I can see it's like the older breeds are starting to process out, and, eventually it's gonna, guys aren't going to be calling it that stuff anymore.
Is anybody even still calling it deuce gear?
Well, so no. And the reason why, and that ended with my generation, because, when I came in, we still had deuce gear, our vest that we put over our flak, right? We all wore LBVs over our flak. And so we called it our deuce gear. And, but now everything's attached to, the individual Marines freaking plate carrier and everything else. So they haven't had deuce gear in fucking 20 years, or any type of outer. Well, I guess that's not true. Some dudes still get there's a plate carrier that they issue. I'm not even sure if they still issue it or not, but it was more of an experimental type deal. But nobody refers to it as deuce gear anymore in the Marine Corps. Just it's not around. There's no exterior web gear. There's no exterior load bearing equipment. It's all attached to the body armor, and it's been so for 2 decades now.
Yeah. Getting old.
Yeah, it is what it is. So,
is there anybody left in the Corps that has ever polished a boot?
God, I want to wrap up this live stream, but we've had the same amount of people in here from the get go. So it's like,
well, just to get back on topic, I mean, Elon has opened a can of worms, or maybe a better terminology is he's opened Pandora's box, and don't know where this is going to lead. I mean, clearly it's making waves. People are going to look for other things. I think generally people are going to be a little more skeptical than they have been. But it just shows you that, I guess, how far the government is willing to go to push the narrative to say nothing's here. It'll be interesting to see what comes out. I mean, especially he's supposed to be dropping some revelations soon about Fauci and COVID. And I got a feeling that this is going to go on for weeks. So this might be a topic we have to talk about again.
Yep, no question. So, all right, guys. Well, I think we've reached culmination. So I'm going to go around the horn. I'll go counterclockwise since let's just got talking, and just final thoughts. If you got anything up recent or coming up on your YouTube channel, by all means, go ahead and address it now. So starting with you, Mike.
Yeah, I guess I got the word out already that I got a channel strike, so I'm a little bit backed up as far as being able to get my content out that I wanted to get out. But the other thing is I've been working on these carry handles. That's ready to go. That's up on the website, smallteamsupply.com. Also, my uppers are up there as well. I can start cranking those out as soon as you place the order. And I've been working on some other stuff. I don't know if I'm going to have this available or not. It's like a knife sheath, whatever, for a Swiss German Basilar dagger. And I've been playing around with some other things. So go check me out. I've always got different engineering projects in the works.
All right, guys. Yeah, so I've spoken my mind. You guys know where I am on everything. I feel the same way as everybody else does. In terms of upcoming videos, I know that Brent's always teased me about not putting anything out, but I have got quite a few ideas in my head for a concealed carry, almost a series, several videos on different aspects for someone that's new to carrying a firearm concealed. I've been carrying concealed now daily for almost 20 years. And of those 20 years, I can probably count the days that I didn't strap up on both hands. That's a lot of carry time. And I've got a lot of equipment that I've used that I trust and that has held up well. And some of it's going to be a 15-year review on some of the equipment that I use. And just some tips and some ideas that I've learned. So that's something that I'm going to toss around in my head through this upcoming Christmas vacation. And I might be putting some short videos out. I don't know what short's going to be until you do it and edit it, but early next year. And something to kind of give back to the community. My wife has been carrying for several years now, so we can bring in a bit of a female perspective too. So we'll see. We'll see if I can put that together and put that out. That might be fun.
All right. So as far as the conversation goes tonight, the Grinner situation, that was the mother of all virtue signals. If the current administration wants to stop playing favorites, and maybe we can start playing a little hardball with Putin on the Twitter thing. Love it. Loving the leftist tears. Keep the info coming, Elon. Let's embarrass the shit out of the Democrat Party. And looking forward to Fauci taking a hit as more comes out. And of course, lastly, fuck Trudeau and let's go, Brandon.
Well, I totally agree with you there, Chad. I hope Elon keeps the stuff coming because all those liberal tears are needed to lubricate my weapons because it is that time of year where I need to clean them whether they need it or not. As far as my channel goes, I have a lot of stuff I've been putting up lately about One Shepherd and the Bravo Company semester from this fall. And don't worry, all you Alpha Company guys, as soon as I finish up with the Bravo Company semester, I'll be putting out all the stuff I did for Alpha Company around Christmas, New Year's, and into January. And I want to remind everybody that signups are still available for Midnight Brutality. And if you're wondering what that is, head over to InRange TV. They have a whole video about it. It is a night vision and white light shooting contest, taking the regular brutality and going to night. So the stages are going to be very intense, very physical, and very big marksmanship challenges. You have 4 categories you can participate in, which is light fighter, which is doing it with white light, night fighter, which is doing it with passive night vision, infantry division, which is using your PECs, and then finally the hunter division, which is doing it with thermals. Slots are going quickly, so slide on over to Practice Score, put in Midnight Brutality, and sign up.
All right, so I think I said my piece on our topics tonight. No surprise that there wasn't much disagreement. It was kind of slim pickings on topics. We just wanted to hit the main stuff in the news. So with that being said, I'm going to move on to channel news. And the latest and greatest channel news that I've got is Winter Forge coming up. You got, I think it's 3 weeks left to sign up for it. I will be going to Winter Forge. Unfortunately, my counterpart, Bruce, over there, will not be going to Winter Forge with me. I guess he's got, in the spirit of Winter Forge, snow in his vagina. So he will not be attending. He's not. You guys can't see him. He's nodding his head. So he will not be attending, but I will be there, guys. So if you want to get some good cold weather training, come up, hang out with me in Missouri for Winter Forge. It's their SNS's 10-year anniversary, and it's going to be SNS versus the One Shepherd element. So it'll be the first time that it's going to be a co-joint One Shepherd versus SNS Training Solutions Winter Forge semester. So good times, definitely going up there for that. A lot of you will be interested to know that I have almost finished this year's Christmas video, and that will be dropping. So normally I kind of wait and I drop it on Christmas Day. However, I've noticed over the years that dropping a video on Christmas morning isn't the best idea when it comes to getting views. So I may be dropping that a little bit earlier. But regardless, my channel gets fucked, guys. Like I told you, I got 500K subscribers, but my videos only get a few thousand views, generally speaking. So that might be a mute point anyways. But nonetheless, the Christmas video is almost done. I know a lot of people look forward to seeing that every year. What else we got? I just got that Mike Klein Klein Machining carrying handle for the AR-RPK. So that's just arrived today, guys. So I'm going to have to brainstorm and put a video together for that, because I definitely want to get the word out on that and show you guys up close what that thing looks like, because it's pretty cool. I got one more Taiwan camouflage pattern video to put out. It's already filmed. I just got to get around to doing it. So, and then last but not least, I'm talking to my old first sergeant, who I actually did a video already on, but the audio was just terrible. But Sergeant Major Archibald, he was my company first sergeant during the 03 invasion. And he's put together an amazing document outlining, because he kept a journal, outlining day by day the 2003 push into Iraq. And what we're going to do is, hopefully our audio is fixed, but we're going to sit down and we're going to go through that. And that'll be interesting for you history buffs, going through day by day what we did during the 2003 push into Iraq. So that will be pretty badass. So I look forward to doing that as well. But that's pretty much all I got for you guys. Grunt Proof Sear Challenge 2. He's working on it currently, so that's going to be coming out hopefully sooner than later. So that's all I got, guys. Does anybody have any saved rounds? Chad?
Already said it. We're good.
All right, fellas. Everybody have a good night.